Hello you guys, welcome back to Emily Freibler Home, where I am sharing how I'm turning our house into a home affordably. Today we are doing window screens, and I've been putting this off since we bought the house because there's just not a lot of there's information out there how to do it. Obviously, I figured out how to do it, but I felt like I had to piece together a lot of different videos. They're kind of dated. They're all like made by people I feel like who've done this a bunch of times, so they overlook certain details. So I figured I'm gonna make one for the beginner. This isn't as difficult as it would seem to be, and it's also not as expensive as it seems to be. A lot of people aren't like me who need to do screens for the entire house. We bought this house as a flip house, like someone flipped it before we came in and they just didn't put screens back into the house. I'm assuming the old ones were ripped and whatever, so they took them all out and they never put them back in, which is really a pain, especially where we live, because I feel like there's a lot of days in that kind of like spring, fall time when I just want to open the windows and don't have to turn the air on and all that kind of stuff, or the heat on, whatever. So I want to put screens in. I will say, if you are like temporarily needing screens and you don't want to do this whole thing, we have used these adjustable screens for the last year and a half, almost 2 years now since we bought the house, and they've worked fine, but they only go up half the window. So like there's another, almost foot or whatever of airflow that we're not getting. So I'm so excited to do this. This project, I'm doing 13 windows, and all the supplies cost me about $220 at Home Depot. So not too bad to do an entire house of windows, in my opinion. I've already done 3 screens. I wanted to get a little bit of experience before I documented this, and I've done 3 screens, so that's basically a template for the rest of my house except for 2 windows. I have 2 windows that are smaller up here in the front that I'll show you, and then the rest are the exact same size as the first one that I did. So I'm just going to use that as a template, but I want to show you how to measure, because measuring was the hardest part for me, because people didn't explain clearly how to do it. They had different types of windows than me, and I feel like ours are very standard, especially for not like an old home. Our house, I think, was built in 2000. So anyway, let me show you how it looks. So I don't know if you can tell, but this window does have a screen. This one and this one do not. Every other window in the house is this same shape where it has 3 panes, and then this one has 2, and this one has 2. So I'm going to show you on these ones how I'm doing this. Try to use a smaller tape measure like this, because this part is just a little bit smaller here to fit in the little groove that the screen fits into. All right, don't judge. My window drags, those need to be cleaned, obviously. But I'm going to show you where the screen goes. So if you can see this little lip here, that will keep the screen in this little area here. So 5/16 is the width of the screen. So it literally fits in this little tiny area here. This part will be in between the window and the screen, so the window can go up and down on this track here. So it's gonna sit right on the edge. And then, again, these are really dirty. This is real life. So, okay, I need to clean this. Hold, please. It's still dirty, but the screen goes in that little well right there. Okay, so it needs to come up higher than this little lip here, but it also still needs to be able to slide in and into this side. So I'm going to show you how to measure that so that it can actually fit in the window pane, because I was measuring from sidewall to sidewall, but then there's no way to get it in because of the way the windows are. You have to get it up here behind this window part and slide it in mainly from the outside, and then this makes it so that the screen doesn't fall out. It'll make sense here in a second. To measure the width, you want to go from one side where it touches this wall here, this inside part, to the outside of this area. That will make it so that you can slide it in. You can push it all the way to this side, and then there will be room for it to slide in, but then you can shimmy it over and it'll sit kind of like right here on both sides. All right, so you want to go from the inside wall there, That's where my tape measure starts. And then my measurement is going to be, that 20 and a half, 20 and 9/16 kind of area. We're not going all the way to where it says 21 or a little over 21. That would be too tight. Again, we're going into the inside of that little groove there. And then we're going to do something very similar up top. So I'm pretty sure I know my height is going to be 20, like just over 29, like 29 and a 16th, 29 and an 8th, right around that area because of the height of the other windows. But I'm still gonna show you how to do it. If you have a skinnier tape measure, it's gonna be easier to get in that little channel. Mine is skinnier, but it still is like a little bit too big. It's a little bigger than 5/16. So it's gonna be kind of hard to show you, and I kind of have to guesstimate just a tiny bit, but it's close enough. As long as it can go up above the little lip on the top and it can still slide in the bottom, then your measurement will be great. So I'm gonna start mine with the tape measure down here and then go up this way, and I'm gonna try and show you on the camera. It's really hard because it's a tight area. So I'm trying my hardest to be able to get you guys to see that, but it's kind of going up above that lip there, and it does say 29. A little over 29 will be perfect to where it can go up above that lip, but still slide in. So I hope you guys could see that. Basically what you want to do is go in one groove from one side and then go to the edge of the other groove. Don't go inside it for the one side so that you can slide it in. Some people use little springs on the side of the screens. I have found that I don't think we'll need them. It's just gonna be another expense basically and another thing to do. That will basically make it so that you can push in on one side and then it'll spring back for you, where these ones you just kind of have to, you know, do yourself. You could also get tabs, especially for like second story windows, because these ones I did have to go on the outside while Caleb was on the inside to insert them. Again, another expense. It just makes it a little easier to pull in and out, but I found I didn't want the, like aesthetically, I didn't want the little tabs because you could see them, you know, on the screen, and they're little black things and whatever. So that's how you measure. Alrighty, so let me go through the supplies that you're going to need for this job. So I got all this in one category pretty much at Home Depot, except for the hacksaw, and I think it's called a miter. I'm not great with the names of things, but I know what we need. So the first thing you're going to need is the framing. I have a bunch of pieces because obviously I have all these windows to do, and I kind of measured out the windows roughly and then multiplied it by how many windows we need, how many sides, and I ended up needing 19 of these. These are very standard, and they're 5/16 width right there. You need the actual screen, the roll of screen. You need the actual roll of screen. Mine is 36 inches by 25 feet because my windows are like 29, 27 width, so I needed it to be bigger. And then 25 feet, and I got 3 rolls of this just based on how big my, you know, windows are. You need spline here, and on, which I didn't know this until I was in the store, the window screen will tell you what type of spline to use. So you can do 0.4 to 0.175 spline, and that is what you put in the little channel to hold the screen tight. So I got 2 of these for the spline, and basically that goes in this little channel here, and you push it in with the screen underneath. You need corners, all these plastic corners for all of my windows. So I needed 13 sets of this because I'm making 13 windows. And this is my very technical setup of where I'm going to be cutting. I have my little hacksaw and miter box so that it makes cutting a lot easier. I wish I had a table and a clamp for this because it would make everything literally so much easier, but we're making do. All right, here's gonna be my little setup. You also need an X-Acto knife to cut things, maybe a pair of scissors to also cut. And then this is a screen mouse, and I'll show you how to use that for the spline when you're actually putting the screen in. So it seems like kind of a lot of moving pieces, but it's actually not. Oh, and you need a tape measure too. Tape measure is a must. But I'll show you how to do it. It's honestly pretty straightforward once you get your measurements, and you can like bust them out as long, I mean, I hope for your sake that you have very straightforward measurements and you have a lot of the similar windows, so you don't have to keep measuring a bunch. So I like to keep all of my things in notes for things. So these are my cut numbers for the other windows, but these are the numbers, these two, 20 and 9/16 and 9 and 1/16 are my numbers for the actual length of the window, length and width of the window. But that's not my cut size, because you have to count for these corners, and this width right here is 3/4 of an inch. So this little width right here from here to here is 3/4 of an inch, and you have one on each side. So you need to subtract 1.5 inches from your measurement. So from these two numbers, you need to subtract 1.5, okay? So you're gonna make 2 of the top one, 2 of the bottom one, and that'll make 4 and make your square or rectangle or whatever your measurement is. So I'm gonna do this math, and then I will tell you what my actual cut length is and width is. All right, so here are my measurements, these bottom two, accounting for this little corner piece on each side. So the width is going to be that 19 and 1/16, and then the width or the height is going to be the 27 and 9/16. And as you can see, where is it? As you can see, that is the same height for the other windows that I'm doing. The other windows are almost square, right? They're very, very close. These ones are not. So these are what I'm gonna be cutting with right now. And you just use your little handy dandy tape measure. I mark it with a little Sharpie, and then I'll show you how I cut. Like I said, this would be way better with a clamp and on a table and everything, but this is my makeshift table. So I'm going to line it up with the little gap there, the little space, and then go ahead and cut it with the saw. It's pretty easy to do. It's a little tough at some points, just gets caught on like, I think that little lip there, but it cuts for sure. All right, so here is our short piece. This is the width. We gotta make one more of these, and then the longer piece as well, 2 of those, and we can attach the brackets. So I'm making 2 of these size windows. So I just cut everything for this. So 2 of these are gonna be height, width, width. And then you literally just slide these pieces in. So literally all you do is take one of these, kind of line it up to where this little, like, I don't know, edge kind of goes in like this. So one long side, put a short side in this one. Put another elbow. And do you see how this adds length? That's why we accounted for it. So it's 3/4 of an inch on each side, which equals 1.5 inches. Another long piece on this side. And then a short piece over here, and we'll have our frame. And these frames are not like flexible, but kind of like you can wiggle them around to get it to go in. For this last piece, like you can kind of move it, see? Okay, so we have our frame. Now the next thing is to put the spline and the screen in, and honestly that's pretty easy. I feel like the hardest part is measuring for this. It looks like such a daunting task, and I mean it is. It's a little bit tedious and everything, but it's not hard. Alrighty, hopefully you can see this, but I have my frame laying on the table. I have my roll of screen. I'm just going to roll it over top and leaving some room on each side, and then cut across. Now here is the screen mouse. It has a B and an F on it. And this is my spool of spline. It sounds like slime. And you thread it through the B side. There's a little thing right here. You thread it through the B side, put it out the F side, and then as you start rolling it on, this kind of goes down and then it'll go right into the little groove. I'll show you it up close, but that's kind of how it works. And then you can just like keep feeding it through. It's a lot easier. So in order to not get like too tight of a screen, you don't want it to be too tight or else it'll bow the framing. You want to make it so that, like, I'll put like the spline or something in the middle here so that it kind of makes the screen kind of go in here versus pulling. And I'll show you also, I put my palm down on the final side, especially because that's when it gets really tight. But I'm going to try and show you me like actually doing this. So do you see the little groove here? That little groove is where this rubber piece, the spline, is going to go into, and we're basically just pushing it in there. So I'm basically starting in the corner here. I'm going to push this down. And then this one, this first wheel kind of puts it in the channel. And I like to go kind of slow just so that I don't get any grouping or anything. And then as you go, you want to push with the back one. That's going to really secure it in place. So you're going to do even pressure along the frame. And then when it comes to the corner, you basically just round it around the corner. You could cut it if you really want to, but I just kind of round it around. The corner, you could do this with a screwdriver too. You got to make sure that's really nice and pushed in. And you basically just do this all the way around. All right, so for the final side, you want to put your palm here so that it doesn't get too tight. So the screen will come from this side versus the middle, and then it'll make it bow basically right here. So you want to keep your palm down while you are gliding the screen mouse. So we have our screen completely done, other than obviously cutting off the excess. And I'm just going to go back in and secure it even better and cut this little bit here, the spline, with an X-Acto knife or a box cutter or whatever you have. So I'm just going to go over everything with the screen mouse one more time and make sure it's pushed in really well. And then all you need to do is take a box cutter or something and cut off the excess screen right along the spline. Just be careful not to cut the rest of the screen because you'll have to redo it. So see? And here we go. We have a screen. It's so satisfying making your own screen. I feel like a badass, which kind of am. Shimmy it. You kind of have to shimmy it in there. So the spline goes on the inside, or at least that's what I read. And then I like to go in the top corner. And you have to shimmy it up there to get in that little groove. we go. Now push it up. There. Whew. Wow, I got it to work. I got it in there. Looks good. You just kind of have to play around with the placement. So like, do you see how it's not gonna come all the way to the edge here? And it's not gonna come all the way to this edge, but just kind of get it in the middle there. It's this one kind of bowed just a tiny bit. But not, I don't think from the screen, from going this way. So I don't know what to do about that, but that's okay. All right, you guys, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You learned something, and now you feel like you can do screens as well. They're not like super difficult. They're hard to get in, I think, but it works. And I hope my measuring and all that kind of stuff helped you versus, you know, the other videos that are online. So hope you guys liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. I love posting these home videos. Make sure you go check out the other videos that I've done, and I will see you guys in a video very, very soon. Bye, guys.